It's Hélène with just a little preamble to the 5-part series you're going to see. What is coming up is the first of a 5-part series of my makeup collection. The only things included in this 5-part series are my eyeshadow palettes, my face palettes, and my eyeshadow singles at the time of filming. I did receive a few more singles after the fact, but I didn't want to delay the filming any further. So over the next 5 days, you will see various parts of my collection. When I have the courage and dedication to show you the other categories of my collection, I will definitely do so. But for now, over the next number of days, you will see all 5 different parts of my collection. And yeah, I think that's all I had to share. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy my collection videos over the next number of days and look forward to your feedback. On with the show. If you want to see part 1 of my makeup collection when it comes to palettes, then stick around. All right, let's get this out of the way. If you like the content of this makeup collection video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content on this channel in general and you're not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? First palette up is the NARS, this is the Provocateur, and this is a palette that is the only NARS palette that I have. I have done a focus on this palette and I did enjoy it. Not a bad palette. Next up I have the Jouer palette. This is the Making Magic Ultra Foil palette. I did a first impression with this palette because when I swatched it, and I did that in a video, I was just not impressed with what I did with it, and it turned out that my impression of this palette changed for the better when I did my first impressions. By the way, any palette video that I reference during this video, I'll put a few key ones in the cards, but all of them will be in the description box. Next up, I have my one and only Marc Jacobs palette. I will definitely be doing a video on this one. I have not touched it yet. Here it is. And there's a specific reason I got this palette, but I won't get into it now. It's mostly metallics with 2 neutrals at the end. The case is pretty awesome, isn't it? Next up is a palette that I have only swatched. It is brand new to my collection, and I have not yet put it on my eye. I want to give it proper attention when I do, and it is the Becca Volcano Goddess. It's a beautiful palette, and it got lackluster reviews, but I just think it's gorgeous. And the swatches did not disappoint. Next up I have a one and only palette, my one and only palette from Juvia's Place, and this is what it looks like, half neutrals, half colorful. And I was quite happy with the time I spent focusing specifically on this palette. And when I think about a palette that is mixed color and neutrals, I definitely think of the Masquerade Mini. Another palette that I have not tried yet, you see there's a theme on palettes I haven't tried yet, brands I haven't tried yet really, and that is because these are part of the 9 brands in 2019 that I wanted to try. This one is the Violet Voss Like a Boss, and I have been coveting this particular palette by Violet Voss for months. I won't say a year, but for months. That is the only one that I've been interested in, and this is what it looks like. I just love the colors. I have not touched it. I have not swatched it yet. I just want to be in the real mood to appreciate it, so that's why. But I have to say the ones that really got me, this gold, very, very curious about it, and this green. And actually this trio looks so good. And that might be an indication of why I had to talk myself out of the Natasha Denona palette, because apparently golds and greens I just keep getting pulled toward. If you want me to swatch it sooner than later, just let me know. Here is an oddball palette, and this is the Cleof Cosmetics. This is a glitter bomb palette. It's crazy, and I actually included it in palettes I regret because the only way that I would use this palette is to really mess around and wash it off right away, or for Halloween, because it's just too much for me. It's but you know what, at the same time I'm starting to get into mixing mediums and glitters, so who knows, I might get a little bit bolder with this one. I just don't also like the jelly that they're in. It's just a little weird to me. This one I put into my single palettes just because to me it is, I consider it one. On the one side is what you would call the eyeshadow side, and it's called, I keep wanting to call it gritty side, gritty palette, and the other one is called the Glow Face palette, and this is supposed to be more for face, but the only thing I use for face is really this blush and these highlighters, but I use all these colors for eye. So to me it's a 12 shadow eye palette, and I love this packaging. The fact that it's magnetized is so awesome, and I really wish this brand hadn't gone by the wayside. It was so cool and still is. I'm going to keep this for a long time. Some more brands I only have one palette of. This is the, oh gosh, Shiny Pretty Eyes. What's it called? I don't even have the name again. I'll write it on the screen. And it has a total of 9 shadows. Now I have swatched them and I have done only one look with it so far. I'm going to play with it some more. And it was an okay look, but yeah, I have to use it some more. I am not sure about this palette. I always do appreciate when a palette has a brush. A lot of folks don't care for it. I do. And yeah, I have to spend more time with this one. One that could be drugstore, but because I bought it at Sephora, I'm including it here. There were only a few ColourPop items at Sephora last holiday season, not 2018, but 2017. And this is one that I was so happy to pick up. And it's one of my favorite metallic eyeshadows. The colors are absolutely beautiful. I have used it much more than I ever thought. And for a $20 Canadian eyeshadow palette, it was a fantastic value, and it makes me think I will probably try more ColourPop in the future. Surprisingly enough, another palette I only have one of from one brand, and this is eyeshadow palettes. I do have more Anastasia products, and it is the Subculture palette. And I talk about the Subculture palette a lot. I have done quite a few videos now on it. I really love it. It only takes a light hand. Very little eyeshadow goes a tremendous way. The pigmentation is amazing. Amazing. And I just love this palette. I never regret a look when I use this palette. I guess the colors are my jam, and I do really, really enjoy the formula. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. Now the next set of palettes are a new addition to my collection just because of holiday sets. And I tried 2 holiday sets this year. This one is the Lancôme holiday set. This is the cool version. There were 2 versions. You could get the cool or the warm. And I went for the cool because I have very few cool eyeshadow palettes. And I have to say that these are my favorites. Although the gray did a very, very nice smoky eye. And I did mention that if you have the NARS Provocateur, the first couple palettes, it was in the first couple palettes, this is, I think, a very good companion palette for it. I just felt that there were a lot of complementary shades, and there are 2 small palettes that I might consider bringing with me as a duo for travel. The quality of the eyeshadow is very good in here, and even though it's a holiday set, you will see in the description on the back of the palette that some of these shadows are referenced in other Lancôme products. A lot of these shades are not limited edition. They are shades that are available in the regular line. So you get to try them and then decide if you want maybe something else from the Lancôme line, which I thought was great. I am right now working with these guys. And the Lancôme, by the way, there is a brand new focus, How Was It, coming. And then this one is one that I'm working through right now, some face products and meaning skincare products, and also some eyeshadow and face powders. And there are two palettes in this. There's this one, which is the smoky, called Glam Eye, and this is the nude. And I think that they are not great. I'll talk about them more, but they're not great. You'll see my thoughts later on those. But they're not. I'm just happy that there was a lot more value in this holiday set than including the value of these palettes. That's all I'll say for now. Now we're into the smaller palettes that are very few shadows. This is the Huda Beauty. This is the Coral Obsessions. And this palette shocked the heck out of me. At first I said no, I was not interested in Huda, and that no, I was not interested in a couple that were on sale. Well, this one just ended up changing my mind, just looking at the colors over and over again. And boy, am I happy that I picked this up. I did a great look with this palette with this color, this color, this color. Beautiful. Beautiful. And I think I might have put this on the brow bone. I loved it. And I stayed away. I wanted to do all matte. I stayed away from the shimmers because the shimmers usually get me. Well, the mattes got me in this one. Highly recommend this one. This is a palette that I have not touched yet. I got it just after Christmas. There was an opportunity to get it for a really good price, and I'm always worried about how to open it. It is a quint from, let me just get this out of here. A quint from Lise Wattier, and I have wanted to try Lise Wattier, and it's mostly because of Drea Cien. She tends to like this brand, and she has a lot of eyeshadow, and I thought, well, if she's pretty big on this brand and it's a Canadian brand, I should really try it, so I'm trying it. Next up, I have my one and only Natasha Denona. Luckily, I talked myself out of the golden palette from Natasha Denona. This is a 5-pan Aries palette from Holiday 2017, and I did try it during my Focus on Holiday palettes this year, and I was impressed by the look that I tried with this one. Next up is a palette that, it's from Pat McGrath. It's the, I can't even ever remember the names. It's called the Mothership Sublime Bronze Temptation eyeshadow palette. And it looks like this, and it comes with these silly names on the card. And the only shade out of here that I have not tried is this one. And I have done 3 looks with it at this point, and I will offer more thoughts when I deliver my holiday palettes outcome. Now, 2 small palettes from Viseart. This one is the Theory palette. I have just received them a couple weeks ago. So this is the first palette, and this is the Theory 7 Siren. And I do really enjoy this really small packaging. I think it's great. And I included them in the single palettes just because they're so small. And this one is the Petite Pro, or Petit Pro, and it is the Pro 2. And you can tell that I really was into, I have heard there's a difference between the way these 2 sets of shades work, and so I decided to pick palettes that were sort of as similar together as possible, and I felt like these 2 were the palettes. And as you can tell, the plastic is still on, and I'll just leave them as is. Those were all the palettes that I have only one of a given brand, although I did sneak a couple in. I snuck a second palette into the Elizabeth Arden and a second palette into Viseart, but I think that you can see kind of why I did that. They were so small. I am ready to talk about brands where I have multiple palettes, and these are brands where I have just a few, so we'll start with those. First off, I want to talk about Ciate, and this is Ciate London. The first one I have is the Glitter Storm, and the packaging, I have to admit, there's a part of me that wanted the packaging, but I had been considering getting another palette from Ciate that was not a collaboration, and this is the one that spoke to me. I love the packaging, but I also was intrigued by the colors, and a lot of folks were saying they really enjoyed this palette, so I thought I would try it, and I have swatched it. I have done a first impression with it, and so far I quite like it. Another one that I have from Ciate that convinced me to get another one from the brand is this Chloe Morello Ciate collab. This is their second collab, and as I've said in previous videos, I think every single shade in here is great. I love it all. I love it all. The only one that I haven't used all that much is the black. I used it for liner a few times, but everything else I have used in various looks. I did a specific focus on it along with ColourPop, the semi-precious. Really, really loved this palette, and I would not hesitate. If I could only use a palette for a little bit, I would not hesitate to put this one on the short list, no question. The 4 products that I have from You Know Who. So I have this first quad. This is the Plum Quad. This is the quad that is my favorite. I really quite enjoy it. Have not used it a ton, but every time I do use it, I don't regret it. It's a good quad, good color combination. Next one is the Sage Quad. Pretty sure that's what it's called. Yep, Sage Quad. And this green really got me, but I ended up not liking it that much. It's okay, but I have to be careful how I use it. It just doesn't seem to always work for me. And the third and final quad that I have of hers is this one, which is the Rust. If I can open it. There we go. And I don't mind it. The only other quad that was available to me was the Smoky Quad, I think it's called, and I really wasn't interested in it. I wanted to have color because to me I have grays and whites and blacks all over. So this is the last of the quads that was of interest to me, and I'm happy I have it. I really do like this terracotta, and it's nice when I want just a quick look where I don't have to think about things. These quads are convenient. They're convenient, and it's not too often that you have quads that are just mattes, so I appreciate those. Next up, I do have the Pastel Goth. I am quite happy that I got it. I ended up regretting not getting it, and then it ended up showing up on sale nonetheless at Sephora Canada, and I've used every single shade in this palette. I have done a number of looks, and I like it for a subtle. Somebody starting off with color, I can definitely suggest pastels. I think that they are a great idea for someone who doesn't want to go too punchy too quick. They're very nice. I was disappointed in this yellow. It was not a good candidate when I was looking for the perfect yellow, but I do like it when I want a more subtle yellow. Not a problem there. Next up, I have Too Faced, and I have three palettes from Too Faced. This first one is a palette that I've actually identified as a regret, only because I have no clue why I don't use this palette. It's all matte. They're all colors I can use. I really enjoy the idea of these colors, but for some reason, after the focus on Too Faced, I just haven't really used it. And it's beautiful packaging. I love the packaging. I think it's great. Very, very good change for Too Faced. Next up is the favorite of the 3 palettes for me. It is the Sweet Peach, and I ended up liking this palette more than I thought I would. I enjoy the scented palettes. All 3 of these are scented, and surprisingly enough, Bless Her Heart, which was a color that I thought I would really like, that green, ended up not being all that impressed with. I really ended up liking these colors here. I did enjoy a little bit the purple, not a huge amount, but I thought all of these were good. And yes, it may not look like it. I used every one of the colors. I am one of those folks who has a light hand. What can I say? And finally, the Chocolate Bar, which I did a different focus on from these 2. And it is a palette that I did put in my regrets video just because I was bored of it very quickly. The only color that I'm drawn to in this palette is the Gilded Ganache right here. I think it's beautiful. I did a great smoky look with it. I'm sure if you've listened to most of my videos, you're tired of hearing me say it, but that one gave me, left a lasting impression. And I did also enjoy these guys a little bit. And then Crème Brûlée, I call that the no-brainer shade. If you want to do a quick look and you like golds, this is just a really easy one. I just get bored by doing the same look over and over again, but it's very flattering. So I'm going to keep it, yes, but I think that if it were released today, I don't think that it would be the hit that it is today, that it was back then. So I have 3 of these artist palettes, and of course the completionist in me would love to have number 2, but oh well. These are, the funny thing is I still say that, but these are 3 palettes that I had in my regrets video, and the reason being is I don't like the layout. I love the packaging. It's a heavy palette. I think it's a great execution of a cardboard palette, and I love the fact that it is very consistent, different but consistent across. I don't like the fact that there are shimmers and metallics in one palette, mattes in another. So I have to take out 2 palettes to do a complete look. I don't like that. And then this one, I was just drawn. The reason I bought the palette is these 3 colors, but that's why I don't want to use the palette now, because they were a disappointment to me, even though the rest of the palette is beautiful. I did joke around when I was talking about my regrets, is that I wonder if I can pop these shadows out and rearrange these 3 palettes, because I really do love the packaging, and I've thought of depotting them, but I love the packaging. Maybe I just have to get my head around it. Next up, I do have 2 magnet palettes by Makeup Forever, so I'll just show you what's in them. But the palettes are from Makeup Forever. I'll just leave this one on the side for now. And this is the other one. So this one has face products in it. Some from Rimmel and some from Sephora. It's too bad they discontinued these. I actually really like them, and I'm happy that I got a couple while they were on sale and still available. Now, the reason I brought this out when I'm also talking about Lorac is that these are 3 Lorac skinny palettes, the navy, the plum, and the nudes, that came out, I think, 2014-15. And I ended up depotting them and putting them in here, so they are part of my collection as well, but they happen to be in a Makeup Forever magnetized palette. Oh, and down here, if you're curious, down here are Annabelle single shadows, and this is my favorite right here. And finally, my favorite palette of the Lorac collection, I only have 4. I have 4. And this is the Mint Edition, and I really, really enjoy this palette. This is my favorite color out of the bunch, which is a good thing because that was the whole theme. I do enjoy the fact that there's a highlighter and blush, and it is a very beautiful springtime palette. So I'm definitely very happy to have it in my collection. That is it for part 1 of my makeup collection, the first of 2 videos on eye palettes. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it very much. And see you in the next video. But for now, take care.